Alrighty, so I've already done the majority of my calculus homework, so I'm going to be going back over what I skipped. I felt like I couldn't do at the time. So right now, we're late into chapter 9 in the textbook, and we're doing vector valued functions. And let's see here. So I'll give an example here. We have a vector. It's the function, both lowercase, the function r of t. So if t is a given value, then you have to evaluate it at the given function's r. Hang on, there we go. 3, okay, t to the third negative 3t. So that's the referred to as the x of t and y of t, because these are the x and y, hi bubble t, and Venus Vesper and Marcy. So excited to learn about math much higher than my level. I think I'll do a good enough job at explaining it that you'll all get it. So this is points to a coordinate plane, but they're both separate functions. So you'll be given the value of a function, and you'll find 2 points on a coordinate plane. So for example, if this was r of t, then at time t, because it's, you're not going to address my message. I mean, you can like call me after the stream. Like, I won't be able to talk for long. You still can, though. So at time t equals 1, there'll be 1, negative 3 would be the value in the coordinate plane. I don't know if you can write it out like this. I don't think it'll work. Yeah, it won't. Oh. Yeah, because it takes it as a less than symbol. Okay, so my example will have to be, I'll have to use x instead, because then it'll actually be functions. So these would be our 2 functions, and we'd be evaluating both of them. And the evaluation of both of these functions will give us different points on the coordinate plane. So you'd be able to draw the vector like that. But I don't know exactly how yet, because that's the lessons I missed, because I was out sick with the flu for 4 straight days. And that really sucks for me. Fortunately, I don't yet have to know how. What I do have to know is just a couple derivatives. Because here's the question I'm missing. RT equals e to the power of negative 4t plus 9. 7 minus negative 4 t to the third. Yeah, what the hell? So what that means is the second derivative. I have to find the second derivative of r of t. Now, if you'll remember from my previous lessons, a derivative. Are you feeling better today? Yeah, I've drank a lot of tea, a lot of honey, a lot of tea and honey and yogurt. So that's been helpful. What was I saying? Right. I did make pancakes, yeah. A derivative, a simple way to find the derivative, if it's x to a power, for example, you take the exponent and you multiply x by that exponent, and then you take away 1 from whatever the exponent is. So this would be 2x to the power of 1, which is just 2x. Because anything to the power of 1 is itself. So when we're thinking about derivatives, we have to take, if you take any given point of the original function, if you take a point x and y and you draw a line, is it parallel or perpendicular? Parallel to that point specifically, and you take the value of the slope. I don't know if I'm explaining this in the best way. Started watching Welcome to Derry. I finished Welcome to Derry. I watched the whole thing through, and I kind of liked it. It was pretty good. Anywho's, clearly my cognitive ability isn't all there today, because of the sickness. I should get on to solving it. I have to derive these functions twice. Now, as I described, the way in which you derive expressions like that, you multiply this down here and then take away 1. The neat thing about e to the x is its derivative is just e to the x. Right, so the typical way that you would derive something to the power of x, apparently, is you'd have to multiply it by the natural log of whatever the expression is that is being raised to a power. But the natural log of e is 1. That's kind of the nature of the term. So the derivative of e to the x is just e to the x, because multiplying by something by ln of e is multiplying it by 1, so it equals itself. If you have something like e to the negative 4x, you still have to multiply it by the derivative of this thing. That's the thing. It's if you add 2 to the x, technically you're multiplying it by the natural log of 2, first of all, but you also have to multiply it by the derivative of the thing that it's to the power of, but the derivative of just x is 1. So you're essentially multiplying it by 1 in that case. the phrase "you're essentially multiplying it by 1" in that case comes up a reasonable amount. Anyway, so you get e to the negative, so that's e to the x, and that's its own derivative, but then you get e to the negative 4x, and you have to multiply it by the derivative of this thing, and the derivative of negative 4x is negative 4, because this is a constant linear slope of negative 4. And the thing is, okay, so if you take, like, let's say x squared and 2x, for example, you take any given point of the original function, you draw a line parallel to that function. The slope of that line is going to be equal to the y value of the corresponding x value in the derivative. Did y'all get that? So here, right here, it intersects at 1, 1. So this is a line drawn, this right here is a line drawn parallel to the original function at the coordinate 1, 1, right? And this line over here, you can see, has a slope of 2. And we know that because it's mx minus b over here. M is the slope. Then if you go down to 1/2, and you draw another parallel line, the slope of that line would be 1. Oh, sorry, I was looking at the wrong function. Yeah, that's more like it. Okay, anywho's, so e to the negative 4x. You got to multiply by negative 4. So then you get negative 4e, negative 4x. And that should be the derivative, if I'm not mistaken. Just going to go ahead and verify that, though. No, wait. Yep, I was right. What is the book I see? That is my textbook, unless you're talking about this. It's a play. Anywho's, so r single prime t, the first derivative, would equal negative 4e to the power of negative 4t. And you see it has the plus 9 there, but the thing is, the derivative of one single number, the derivative of just a whole number without any variables, is 0. Let's hop back into Desmos. So let's say we have x, just x. This is a linear slope. So the slope is non-changing. If you evaluate it anywhere, at the origin, at 1, 1, at 2, 2, the slope is just always 1. Sorry, y equals 1. So this is the derivative, y equals 1. Because of what I was explaining earlier about how if you take any point on the original function and you look at the corresponding x value in the derivative, the y value is going to equal the slope, the instantaneous slope at that point. So quadratic functions will always derive into linear functions because they have a changing slope, but a consistently changing slope. And linear functions have a non-changing slope, so they derive into straight lines because this is the slope all the way through. But this thing, if you draw a line parallel to it, and you look at the values of the slope, every slope is 0. Straight line, 0. So 9 becomes 0 in the derivative. So does 7. So we only have to evaluate 4t minus 3. And there again, we can use the power rule, multiply 3 by 4, take away 1 from 3, and we get 12t squared. I have to copy all this down. There's a test on this tomorrow, and I sent an email to my math teacher asking if I could make up for the test on a later date to give me more time to actually learn the material, because I do not feel as of now. Do you not make your bed? No, I do. My bed's made. I'm not sure what brought you to that conclusion. I don't think there's really anything all that interesting in the background. I got some clothes on the couch. I can take care of that, and that's my backpack. It's not my bed. It's a mattress pad that is not on the mattress because I took it off. I tried it out, and I didn't like it that much, so I took it off of my mattress. Anyways, r double prime t is 16e to the negative 4t, negative 24t, which is option C. This was a multiple choice question. So that was 9.7. And now we have 9.8, where I'm going to have to learn, ergo teach myself, some things that I don't know. Well, it ain't my fault. It got put in some boxes. It's the Communist Manifesto she's talking about. That was the book in question. That might be valuable information. And the magnitude of the velocity vector equals the root of 3 squared plus 1 squared equals root 4, so it equals 2. I still have no idea how to sketch a graph of the path from a position vector. That's the concerning part. Yeah, I still don't know where the book is. Who knows if I'm going to find out either. No, wait, okay, I might have found something useful. Can I not select this and delete it? No, I have to do this. That's fun. I have two problems missing here. Alright. A man apology video. You're not even calling me streamer man anymore. You're just saying man. Panera Bread so bad. Man, I like Panera Bread. When I was a kid, I always just got their grilled cheese. Nowadays, it's not much better though. I just get their chicken sandwich. Whatever that one is that also has the avocado. I'll get that sometimes. Sometimes I still do get their grilled cheese. Alright, let's see here. R equals 2. If you guys are wondering, I was sick for so long and missed a bunch of important stuff, but I still took it upon myself to take a quiz, but I got a horrible grade on the quiz. I completely bombed the quiz. I have a C+ in the class now. I have soup. I never did have soup at Panera. I think if we're going to find the points of intersection of this one, we would have to set them equal to each other. I wouldn't have taken the quiz. Yeah, but I had to eventually. Oh yeah, so you take away 3 from both sides of the equation. This is algebra stuff. He doesn't even acknowledge me. Well, I'm distracted. Distracted right now. Marcy celebrated. She gave you a little heart emoji. We're all happy that you got hired by Panera Bread. I promise. Just distracted. Oh, you guys can't even see what I'm doing. Here, down here. So we have r equals 2, the polar equation, that leads to this circle, and r equals 3 minus 2 sine theta, that equals this circle. These are both called polar equations. They only operate from 0 to 2 pi, essentially. They all go in little loops, as you can see. So for this one, this is called a cardioid. The fact that it's sine theta is what dictates that the bulk of it is either up or down, lies in either the two lower or two upper parts of the graph. If it were cosine, then it would be all left and right. The fact that it's negatives, it's like 3 minus 2 sine theta, that's what makes it the lower part instead of the upper part, as you can see. The 3 here determines the length from the center outwards. It's like the point of intersection right here. That's why it crosses over both at -3 and 3. Got an abysmal grade on my elementary stat test if you want to know what it is. Yeah, share with us. Just trust me on this one, by the way. So we're finding out the value of theta, and that's what the points of intersection is. The points of intersection are when the two functions come to the same value. So you can see them happen right there and right there. So you have to set the two functions equal to each other, because this is basically what value makes the two functions equal the same thing. So you have 3 minus 2 sine theta equals 2. And we're trying to get theta by itself. Let's see. This is 67. Mine was worse. Marginally worse. But they were comparably bad. And the test is going to have quiz replacement, meaning there will be a section of the test designed to be all of the exact same types of questions as the quiz was. And if we get a good grade on that section of the test, she replaces our quiz grade. I have improved a couple of quiz grades in the past with that little system she has. So anyways, you take away 3 from both sides. 3 minus 2 sine theta equals 2. You take away 3 from both sides, you get negative 2 sine theta equals negative 1. So then you divide both sides by negative 2. If you divide a negative by a negative, you get positive, so sine theta equals 1/2. Now the opposite of sine is inverse sine, sine to the power of negative 1. And if you take sine to the power of negative 1 of a value, the number that it gives you is the theta value that you would have to put into a regular sine to get that number. And this is equal to pi over 6. Don't ask me how I know that. I'm magical. So the points of intersection should be pi over 6 and 5 pi over 6. And then it asks us to find the shared area. And the formula for that is you have to do a definite integral from the first point of intersection to the next of the two functions squared. I forget if it's plus or minus actually, so I could easily be wrong in some way. It also has to be 1/2. I forget why, but it does. So that's what you have to do. So I'd have to do that for these functions. An object moves along the curve r equals 3 minus 2 sine theta so that at time t seconds, theta equals t squared. Find the time in the interval 1 to 2 for which the x-coordinate of the object's position is negative 2. Did that make sense to you guys? It didn't make sense to me at all. Not even a little bit. Not in the slightest. Find the position vector in terms of t for the object described in part C. Find the velocity vector at time t equals 1.7. I don't know how to do that. And then you have question 21. I don't know. I don't know for what values of t is the particle moving to the right. I have no idea at all, or how to find it. Find the position vector and the acceleration vector of the particle for t is greater than or equal to 0. I have no idea. And I've looked over 9.8. I don't know how to find those things either. Like, this is the lesson section in my textbook. And it's just not clearing things up for me at all. So that's my issue. On the bright side, I finished 9.7. I've got 9.8 to go. In my current state, I'm sure you guys couldn't imagine me taking a test on this subject any more than I could, and hopefully any more than my teacher could. So I probably am going to try to find the answers to these online and then intuit from that how I'm actually supposed to do them and write that down, because that's what I tend to do. And it usually works out for me. I ended last marking period with an A, and the marking period before that with a B+. I just have to pick up on my slack this time around, or, well, not really, because I had the flu. Having the flu just completely sucks with all drawbacks and zero benefits whatsoever. Once you get to a certain stage in life, it just completely screws you over for no good reason, irrevocably. Like, this is one AP class that I have out of 4, and I missed 2 class periods for all of my classes. And I'm trying to stay caught up here, you know? I'm working on it. I'm most of the way there. Like, I don't have anything owed for oceanography, or my English class, or my government class, but Spanish and math, they get me every time, horribly. At least all my absences are excused. But anywho's, that's all the calculus I have for those guys. What the hell? What did I say? Yeah, I don't know no more. That's all the calculus I have for today for you guys. I was reading your message, Bubble Tea, especially in those classes. It was a Freudian slip of sorts. But yeah, everything kind of sucks for me right now. Just like without a silver lining. I'm going to have to ask my teacher, I think, how I'm supposed to do these missing equations. I'm just going to have to ask her how it's meant to work. And I really just need to hope that she takes pity on me, I think, is all I have left. You know, I sent her the email, and hopefully she saw it. I need y'all to listen to me here. I'm going to vent to you guys for a second. I left school early today because I have early release, so they allow me to leave the building early before school's over. For everyone else, it's over for me. So I go, and I get in my car, and I'm starting to drive away, and I didn't think there was anyone else in the school parking lot, so they try to impose a speed limit of 10 miles an hour on us, but like, come on, right? So I'm going 20. I am going down the student parking lot at 20 miles per hour towards the exit, when out of nowhere, my math teacher comes up on the side. So like, say there's like a barrier here, like there's parking spots here right? And then this is the road. And I'm driving down, right? But then you get a little ways up, and there's an intersection, right, where the folks can turn out of the parking lot. No, it's not Venus. It's luckily not. And go to the same exit out of the school as over here, because if you go down, right, you go down this way, and that's the student parking lot. And over here, because this is like, a whole parking lot full of parking spots over here, etc. And they're all going out here. They're all filtering out this way, out the exit, right? So I'm right here, and I'm leaving from the student parking lot, and I'm going this way. And here's the teacher parking lot over here. I didn't see any cars. I didn't think there was anyone there. As I'm like right here, going 20, again, she pulls up like right here, like right around here. And she's like gonna go turn soon. But because I'm just a complete fucking dumbass who has no idea what I'm doing, apparently, I just fucking barrel past her, and I'm like basically just cutting her off. And this is the same teacher that when I get home, some 20 minutes later, I'm going to be sending her an email begging her to allow me not to take the math test tomorrow because of all of the school I've been missing. And it's like, what's left for me to do now? I sent the email still, and she has not replied. But like, come on, I was out with a horrible case of the flu for like over a week. And I was terribly fatigued. Like, I've only started even attempting to catch up on schoolwork like 2 days ago. And I've gotten like 99% of the work I missed, I have gotten done. Like, I understood it enough to get it done. And I'm happy about that. But, like, I'm not ready to take a whole test on it tomorrow. I wasn't even ready to take the quiz. And I haven't even mentioned my 4 other classes. Or, well, I have. I told you guys I was done with the work I have to do for 3 of them, so I'm grateful for that. But Spanish, man. I'm so screwed for Spanish. I have to read and analyze like 3 more poems and answer questions on them. And we're starting on like a legitimate, like, long literary work tomorrow. And I have to come in having missed the previous 2 lessons in whatever poems they analyzed. I have to catch up on those. And I'm good at it. I'm good at all my classes, when I'm actually there. It's just having to do the catch-up work, having to do that much catch-up work, and missing all that. So I'm at a period in my life where I'm just very screwed over academically. But, my school does an A and B day schedule, and I only have 1 A day left this week, and it's tomorrow. So I will get through that, it'll pass either way. Maybe I will be forced to take the test knowing that I'm going to completely bomb it and having to stay after school sometime next week. That is something that could very feasibly happen. I don't think I'm going to threaten violence. Oh yeah, I also have an AP Lit presentation tomorrow. I have to present my senior research paper. I started on the PowerPoint that we have to make about our paper 2 days ago. I'm wrong. I started yesterday, and I finished it today. Um, I'd show it to you guys, but hang. So that's my thesis for my research paper. And that's my, totalitarianism presents itself through control of media, control of resources, control of language, constant surveillance, and abuse of law enforcement. Then I have one example from the book and one example in America of each of those 5 little prongs. So the control of media, Winston Smith works at the Ministry of Truth. And his entire job is to rewrite historical documents in order to fit Big Brother's agenda. For example, there's some disgraced former head of an organization was allegedly caught in some scandal by the Thought Police and was subsequently erased. And Winston Smith had to get rid of all official records of that man's existence, any media that referenced him. And then in America, my example of how media is controlled was not in the form of outright lying or erasing documents. We don't know of any of that happening explicitly. So I talked about them utilizing distraction instead. And you can read it if you want. The control of resources. The example from the book that 1984 gives, at one point, Big Brother reduces the chocolate rations that are afforded to the members of the outer party, which includes Winston Smith. However, Winston Smith at the Ministry of Truth is then forced to rewrite a previous article reporting on the chocolate rations, and he makes it so that article stated a lower amount of chocolate rations than what was actually given out. So it was decreased from, I forget the exact figures. I'll say, for example, it was decreased from 30 to 20. So there were existing reports that had it at 30. Winston had to change those to say 15. So that way, when the government announced that chocolate rations would be changed to 20 grams per person, it looked like an increase and people celebrated. At a completely different point of the book, there's a political enemy of the state named Emmanuel Goldstein, who may or may not himself actually even exist. He might be a tool utilized by the government and made up by them in order to control the opposition. It's something that is speculated about. But nonetheless, Emmanuel Goldstein has a book that Winston Smith reads that lays out the modern purpose of warfare, because the three major powers, Oceania, Eurasia, and East Asia, have reached a point where there's no major changes to the status quo. They remain as being the three major superpowers no matter what, and there's no big changes to like territorial acquisitions, but nonetheless they all remain at war at all times. Oceania is always either at war with Eurasia and allied with East Asia, or vice versa. And the real purpose of this, now that it's stopped being for territorial acquisition, the real purpose is to maintain the status quo, but to continue using up surplus resources. The resources that they have go towards warfare. And this is reflected in America in that we spend $700 billion annually on the military, over twice as much as the second largest military in the world, which would be China, who spends $300 billion annually on average. So easy comparison to draw there. And that keeps going. I won't bore you guys with the rest of that. So that's everything. That's it from me. I'm not going to be like playing the pips or anything like that today, because I need to get to bed. Wish me luck, guys. Wish me luck.